October 15th, 1974. Johnny Carson was interviewing Muhammad Ali about his upcoming Rumble in the Jungle fight when Ali suddenly stopped talking about boxing and started talking about something much more important. What happened next became one of the most honest conversations about race ever broadcast on television. The Tonight Show was in full swing that Tuesday evening, and the energy in the studio was electric. Muhammad Ali, at 32 years old and preparing for his legendary fight against George Foreman in Zaire, had just walked onto the stage to thunderous applause. Ali was at the height of his fame and controversy, beloved by many, criticized by others, but impossible to ignore by anyone. Johnny Carson had interviewed Ali several times before, and their chemistry was always entertaining. Ali would recite his famous poems, predict knockouts, and engage in playful banter with Johnny that made for great television. Everyone expected more of the same tonight. Ali promoting the Rumble in the Jungle, talking about how he would defeat Foreman, entertaining America with his charisma and confidence. But tonight would be different. Tonight, Muhammad Ali would do something completely unplanned that would transform a boxing promotion into one of the most powerful conversations about race, identity, and purpose ever broadcast on American television. The interview started exactly as planned. Ali entered with his usual swagger, shadow boxing, and declared himself the greatest before even sitting down. The audience ate it up, laughing and applauding at his antics. Muhammad Ali, Johnny began with his characteristic smile. You're about to fight George Foreman in what everyone is calling a Rumble in the Jungle. Are you worried at all about fighting a man who's younger, stronger, and has knocked out every opponent he's faced? Ali leaned back in his chair with a confident grin. Worried? Johnny, I'm so confident. I've already written a poem about how I'm going to win. Want to hear it? Of course, Johnny replied, settling in for what he expected would be typical Ali entertainment. Ali launched into one of his famous rhyming predictions, and the audience loved it. For the first 10 minutes, everything proceeded as expected. Ali was charismatic, funny, and supremely confident. Johnny played the perfect straight man, setting up Ali's jokes and keeping the energy high. But then something shifted. Johnny, tried to dig a little deeper than the usual promotional banner, asked a question that seemed innocent enough. Muhammad, you're going to Africa to fight. What does it mean to you as a black American to be fighting on African soil? It was meant to be a softball question, an easy opportunity for Ali to talk about the significance of the location. But instead of responding with his usual bravado, Ali grew quiet. His smile faded, and for a moment he just sat there thinking. The studio audience, accustomed to Ali's constant energy, grew still. Johnny, sensing something was happening, waited. Johnny Ali finally said, his voice different from performative tone he'd been using. Can I tell you something real? Of course, Johnny replied, leaning forward. I'm scared, Ali said simply. The audience murmured in surprise. Muhammad Ali, the man who declared himself the greatest, who had never shown fear or doubt publicly, had just admitted to being scared on national television. I'm not scared of George Foreman, Ali clarified quickly. I'm not scared of any man in the ring, but I'm scared of what's happening in this country. I'm scared of what my children are going to face. I'm scared that all the fighting I'm doing, not just in the ring, but for my people, might not be enough. Johnny's expression showed genuine surprise. This wasn't the Muhammad Ali that audiences were used to seeing. This was something raw and unfiltered. What do you mean? Johnny asked gently. Ali took a breath and began speaking with a candor that no one expected. Johnny, when I go to Africa to fight, I'm going to a place where black people are in charge, where black people run the government, own the businesses, make the decisions. Do you know how rare that is for someone like me to experience? He continued, his words coming faster now in America. I'm Muhammad Ali, heavyweight champion of the world. I've got money, fame, recognition. But you know what? I still can't go into certain restaurants in certain parts of this country. I still get called names. My children still have to hear people say terrible things about their father because I refuse to go to Vietnam. The studio audience was completely silent now. This wasn't entertainment anymore. This was truth. What Johnny Carson did next demonstrated why he was considered one of television's greatest interviewers. Instead of trying to lighten the mood, make a joke, or steer the conversation back to safer territory, he simply asked, "Tell me more." Those 3 words open a floodgate. For the next 20 minutes, Muhammad Ali spoke more honestly about his experiences with racism, his conversion to Islam, his opposition to the Vietnam War, and his hopes for the future than he had in any previous public appearance. He talked about being Cassius Clay, the young boxer who won Olympic gold only to be refused service at a Louisville restaurant when he returned home. He described the moment he threw his Olympic gold medal into the Ohio River in disgust. People ask me why I changed my name. Ali said they want to know why Cassius Clay wasn't good enough. But Cassius Clay was a slave name, Johnny. It was the name of a white man who owned my ancestors. Muhammad Ali is my name. It's who I choose to be, not who someone else decided I should be. He spoke about his refusal to be drafted into the Vietnam War, a decision that cost him his boxing license and his heavyweight title at the peak of his career. They wanted me to go to Vietnam and kill people I had no quarrel with. Ali explained, they wanted me to fight for freedom in another country when I didn't have complete freedom in my own country. So I said no, and it cost me everything I had worked for. His voice grew emotional. But you know what, Johnny? I don't regret it, because some things are more important than boxing. Some things are more important than being famous or rich or popular. Some things you have to stand up for even when it costs you everything. The studio audience, which had come expecting entertainment, was witnessing something profound. Many were crying. Some were nodding in agreement. Others looked uncomfortable, confronted with truths they had never heard expressed so directly on television. Johnny, to his credit, never interrupted. He asked clarifying questions, expressed genuine interest, and gave Ali the space to speak his truth without trying to manage or minimize what he was saying. Muhammad Johnny said at one point, I think a lot of people watching don't understand the choices you've made. They see you as controversial, divisive even. What would you say to them? Ali looked directly at the camera. I'd say that being liked by everyone was never my goal. My goal was to be true to who I am and what I believe. My goal was to show young black children that they don't have to accept what society tells them they are. They can be whatever they choose to be. He paused, then continued with passion. I'm going to Africa to fight George Foreman. But that's not the real fight. The real fight is here in America, trying to make this country live up to its promises. The real fight is showing people that someone who looks like me, who believes what I believe, who stands for what I stand for, can still be the greatest. After this extended, intense conversation, Ali seemed to realize he revealed more than he intended. He looked at Johnny and said, Man, I came here to promote a fight, and instead I'm getting all serious. Your viewers probably want to change the channel. But Johnny shook his head. Muhammad, this is the most important interview I've done in a long time. This is you being real, being honest, being more than just a boxer. This is what television should be. The audience erupted in applause, not the excited cheering they'd given Ali when he first appeared, but something deeper and more respectful. They were applauding, not for the greatest, but for the man behind that persona. Ali, clearly moved by the response, wiped his eyes. You got me all emotional, Johnny. This wasn't supposed to happen. Sometimes the best moments aren't supposed to happen, Johnny replied. They just do. For the final few minutes of the interview, Ali returned to his characteristic showmanship, making predictions about the Foreman fight and entertaining the audience with his wit. But something had fundamentally changed. Everyone watching now understood that behind the bravado and the poems and the declarations of greatness was a man fighting battles much larger than any boxing ring could contain. As the interview came to a close, Johnny stood and shook Ali's hand. Muhammad, thank you for being honest with us tonight. I think you taught us all something important. What's that? Ali asked. That being the greatest isn't just about winning fights, Johnny said. It's about having the courage to stand for something even when it costs you everything. Ali nodded, visibly emotional. Thank you for letting me be real, Johnny. Not everyone does. The response to the interview was immediate and divided. Some viewers called NBC to complain that Johnny had allowed Ali to politicize the show. They wanted entertainment, not discussions about race and protest. But many more called to thank Johnny for facilitating one of the most honest conversations about race they had ever seen on television. Letters poured in from black viewers who said they had never heard their experiences articulated so clearly on mainstream television. White viewers wrote about having their eyes open to perspectives they had never considered. Television critics praised the interview as a masterclass in letting an interview subject speak authentically. Journalism professors began using footage from that night to teach students about the power of simply asking, "Tell me more," and then listening. 3 weeks later, Muhammad Ali defeated George Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle, using his famous rope strategy to tire out the younger, stronger fighter before knocking him out in the 8th round. It was one of the greatest upsets in boxing history. But for those who had watched Ali's Tonight Show appearance, the victory meant something more than just a boxing triumph. It represented Ali backing up everything he had said to Johnny, that he was the greatest, not just because of his boxing skills, but because of his willingness to fight for what he believed in regardless of the cost. Years later, after Ali had retired from boxing and was dealing with Parkinson's disease, he and Johnny Carson had a reunion on The Tonight Show. When Johnny brought up that October 1974 interview, Ali smiled. "You know, Johnny, I've done thousands of interviews in my life," Ali said, his voice slowed by the disease, but his spirit still evident. "But that night on your show was one of the few times I felt like I could really say what I was thinking and feeling. You didn't try to make me into a character or a controversy. You just let me be me." Johnny, visibly moved, replied, "Muhammad, you taught me something that night. You taught me that the best interviews happen when you stop trying to entertain and start trying to understand." That October 1974 interview has been cited by cultural historians as one of the most important televised conversations about race in American history. It demonstrated that entertainment platforms could facilitate serious discussions about social justice without losing their audience. The interview influenced how future talk show hosts approach controversial figures. It showed that giving people space to be authentic and vulnerable could create more powerful television than any scripted entertainment. Sports journalists point to the interview as a turning point in how athletes discuss social issues. Ali's willingness to be vulnerable and honest, and the positive response it received, paved the way for future generations of athletes to use their platform for activism. Muhammad Ali and Johnny Carson represented two very different worlds. Ali, the controversial black athlete who challenged American social norms. Carson, the white Nebraskan who represented mainstream entertainment. But on that October night in 1974, they found common ground in honesty, vulnerability, and mutual respect. Ali showed America that being the greatest meant more than winning fights. It meant having the courage to be honest about fear, doubt, and the struggles that no amount of fame or success could erase. And Johnny showed that great television wasn't always about getting laughs or creating viral moments. Sometimes it was about creating space for truth, even when that truth was uncomfortable or controversial. Their unplanned moment of genuine conversation became one of television's greatest examples of what can happen when entertainment stops performing and starts being real. If this incredible story of unexpected honesty and powerful conversation moved you, subscribe for more true stories about the moments when entertainment legends drop their personas and show their true selves. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that vulnerability is strength. And let us know in the comments about a time when someone's honesty changed your perspective.